But this, to me, in terms of my reactions, is kind of about the best you could get when it comes to like this style of professional wrestling. I don't imagine many people could ever do much better than these two.
Next is Will Ospreay and PAC for the International Championship. I am guessing that not everyone saw Rampage on Friday night. The last segment was a taped Will Ospreay promo, and it was awesome. Like, this guy, it would sound ridiculous to call Will Ospreay most improved, but when it comes to most improved on promos, this guy is incredible. He did this whole story about how he followed PAC everywhere he went, from the British Indies to Japan. Everyone would say, you're great, but you're no PAC. And finally, I was able to lap you. And we had a draw back in Rev Pro. It was just this excellent promo that gave you everything that this guy has been like compared to PAC throughout his career. And beating him will be the symbolism that he has now become the British export on the worldwide scene that PAC has been previously.
They include clips of it, but that sounded fantastic.
Yeah, He was a really great promo on Rampage. So the crowd is on their feet at the start. They're treating this like a huge match at the start, and Ospreay is selling the injury from the brain buster on the equipment from Wednesday with this had to be the most kinesio tape on a pay-per-view in AEW history.
Mm-hmm. And different colors too.
Everyone had their distinctive colors. You know, in another era it was like your streamers. Now it's your kinesio tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So early on, PAC hits a Sky Twister press to the floor. Everyone cheers him. So then Ospreay one-ups him with his own. And we go to Ricochet watching the match backstage. And some of the highlights of this included PAC working the neck of Ospreay with a avalanche brainbuster. And then Ospreay comes back after selling for PAC with a leap off the barricade with his forearm. And Ospreay catches a moonsault by PAC off the top turnbuckle, but PAC swings into a spiked DDT and follows with a Liger bomb. This sequence was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was just, to watch this was incredible. So he then boots Ospreay right in the back of his neck. But Ospreay comes back with the Os Cutter, hits another on the edge, but PAC lands a release German on the edge. And then it's the Poison Rana on the edge by PAC, rolls him in for the Brutalizer, and immediately they're calling back to PAC, beating Kenny Omega in this arena 5 years ago with that move at All Out. The Black Arrow lands on the knees. Ospreay tries for a cradle for a 2 count. And then after a snap Rana and a near fall, the crowd is on its feet chanting AEW. And another Poison Rana is delivered to Ospreay with the Brutalizer. He gets to the rope and hits a Poison Rana of his own, hits the Hidden Blade. Both shoulders are down, and PAC ends up breaking the cover. And then Ospreay is hit with a Poison Rana off the top turnbuckle, and the guy lands on his feet and hits this massive Hidden Blade, and PAC kicks out. The place is losing its mind. Avalanche Os Cutter.
I believe it was almost like a reverse of the Ibushi spot, right? Because the Ibushi spot from Wrestle Kingdom, where he lands on his feet, that famous shot, of course, that was a regular Rana, I'm thinking, because he landed back to back, right? This was a Poison Rana, which meant Ospreay landed facing him. I think. I mean, I could be mistaken, but anyway, impressive every time.
We got a Hidden Blade for a 2 count, and then after the Os Cutter off the top and Stormbreaker gets countered with a Rana by PAC. So Ospreay turns into a Styles Clash, and then the final Hidden Blade from behind in 20 minutes and 37 seconds. Unbelievable match that these two had. And at this point, I was thinking, man, who's going to be in the spot that has to follow this?
Jesus.
Little did we know. This was unbelievable.
This was a masterpiece, and it was it showed you, I guess, the mastery of the two men that were involved in it. Because from the beginning, I think we all knew on this card this match was going to be special. But I will say my hype for it maybe wasn't as high as I think maybe it should have, seeing the result, because so much of this was overshadowed by whether it be Ospreay versus MJF at Wembley, or coming out of Wembley, Ospreay versus Ricochet. Almost felt like PAC was sort of like an afterthought. This fully steered the conversation back onto PAC and back onto certainly Will Ospreay as a contender, maybe the contender for wrestler of the year. What kind of surprised me about it though tonight was how much I think reverence Chicago was giving these two even before the match started. Before the bell even rang, they just saw these two in the ring and they were giving them a standing ovation. So they clearly recognized that this was going to be something special. They clearly had very high expectations for it, and I think these two exceeded those expectations. The sequences in this one were incredible. You're seeing two guys like flawlessly execute these things that like you might only dream about in video games, and they were doing it flawlessly. They were stacking counters on top of counters. Yes, there was a lot of like sort of like stiff head drop type of things here that you saw, but I think the most impressive things, the things I'll remember the most in this match, are the incredible acrobatics, like PAC countering the Cheeky Nandos, and then the PAC's moonsault that's caught by Ospreay, and then Ospreay goes for the running power slam, but it's countered into the satellite DDT, I should say. Like the smoothness that they executed all of that, it was incredible. I feel safe in saying that like this is probably a match of the year contender, but it's also I don't feel fully confident about that because of the output that we seem to get. But this to me, in terms of my reactions, is kind of about the best you can get when it comes to like this style of professional wrestling. I don't imagine many people could ever do much better than these two.
Yeah, I thought I'd co-sign on all of that. Like the level of complexity that they introduced and the precision at which they executed it was just it was so far above what you even could have anticipated. And they compacted it to like 20 minutes as well. Like you on this card, like this was not even, there were multiple matches that got longer time, but they got everything in. Then we go on to the next match. Well, first we had Renee backstage with Will Ospreay and interviews him. He calls PAC one of the best high flyers and offers him a rematch anytime, and then turns his attention to Ricochet, who storms in, says, "You're talking mad shit." And he tells Ricochet, "Stop collecting a paycheck back here." I mean, the guy's been here literally 2 weeks. And he says to go out, pick up some wins, and then you can come talk to the champion. And Ricochet says, I've got him lined up. And I didn't know what they were arguing about. What were they so upset at each other over?
I felt it was a very forced way of trying to fabricate some sort of tension. And I don't think it really worked here, because the last we saw of these two, it was Ricochet helping Will Ospreay from PAC. I mean, Ospreay, even at these press conferences, which we're supposed to consider canon now, talks about how much of a friendship that they have. So all of a sudden, this argument coming out of nowhere just kind of felt very forced and not very well designed. So and now like there are crazy expectations for Ospreay versus Ricochet, even higher than before, just given how impressive this PAC match was. So,
well, I actually think it's best that you have Ricochet at least have to go through a bit of a gauntlet. And like originally I was thinking maybe that's your Arthur Ashe Stadium show, and I think it's something more down the road that they're going to have Ricochet. I mean, get him. It's not like this guy blew everyone away in that Fletcher match, and maybe that's just, you can't judge off of like one match or anything, but maybe you have hit like there's no higher bar than an Ospreay match and the guy who has the most history with him, and that's just going to be exaggerated by people that it's like, if this is not the greatest match of this generation, it's almost like a letdown to people. Like that's how it's going to be treated. But this is certainly the match you have to get to at some point, and we'll see. Like, obviously it's coming, but the question is how long you hold it off for.
If you like this video, consider joining our Patreon, the Post Wrestling Cafe. Multiple bonus podcasts every week, ad-free shows, and access to our full archive. Otherwise, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Thank you for watching.